What if I told you that motivation is actually the reason you're failing? I know that sounds strange, because we've all heard advice like, follow your passion, wait until you feel motivated, or once you feel inspired, you'll get things done. But what if that advice is exactly what's keeping you stuck? Think about the last time you decided to change your life. Maybe you said, I'm going to start working out, I'll learn a new language, I'll study harder, I'll finally stop procrastinating. On the first day, your motivation was at its peak. On the second day, it started to fade. And after a week, it was gone. Your goal didn't disappear. Your motivation did. And that's where most people make their biggest mistake. They think the problem is themselves, when in reality, the problem is the way they've been taught to think. If you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll discover why the world's most successful people don't rely on motivation at all, and how you can become disciplined even on the days when you don't feel like doing anything. There's an idea that sounds perfectly logical, but it destroys the dreams of countless people. It's the belief that success begins with motivation. That's why people say, I'll start when I feel like it. I'll study when I'm in the right mood. I'll work out once I get my energy back. But if success truly depended on motivation, no one would be able to stay committed for months or even years. Think about a doctor working long hours at the hospital, a writer spending months finishing a book, or an athlete training even on cold, rainy days. Do you think they wake up every single morning feeling motivated? Of course not. They've simply learned something that most people never do. Motivation helps you get started, but discipline is what gets you to the finish line. That's why some seemingly ordinary people achieve extraordinary results, while others begin with incredible motivation, but never make it very far. Because motivation is like a spark that starts a fire. But discipline is the firewood that keeps it burning. And there's a scientific reason why motivation fades much faster than you expect. Let's understand why. Every time you start a new goal, your brain feels excited because it loves new things. But after a few days, the task becomes familiar, and that's when your brain stops giving you the same feeling. Many people interpret this the wrong way. They say, maybe this goal isn't right for me, or maybe I've lost my passion. But the truth is much simpler. Your brain has stopped rewarding you with those feelings, but it never said the goal was bad. This is where the real difference between two people appears. The first sees the loss of motivation as a sign to stop. The second sees it as the beginning of the stage where discipline produces results. And that's why, months later, the difference between them looks enormous. Not because one is smarter, but because one kept going when the feelings disappeared. But one important question remains. If discipline is this important, why does getting started always seem so difficult? Think back to the last time you wanted to study or work out. Before you start, it feels like a mountain. You scroll through your phone for a few minutes. You organize your desk. You drink a glass of water. And suddenly, you find anything more important than the task itself. The strange thing is, once you start, everything changes. After 5 minutes of studying, the next page feels easier. And after 10 minutes of working out, a big part of the resistance disappears. The problem wasn't the task, it was the beginning. That's why many disciplined people use a very simple rule. They don't say, I'm going to study for 2 hours. Instead, they say, I'll study for just 5 minutes. And they don't say, I'm going to work out for an hour. They say, I'll put on my workout clothes and start. When you make the beginning small, your brain's resistance decreases, and once you start, continuing becomes much easier. So, don't make your goal today to get everything done. Make your goal to start, because the hardest step isn't halfway there, it's the first step. Now that you understand that the problem isn't you, but waiting for the right feeling, the real question is, how do you actually become disciplined? Not a month from now, not when your circumstances get better, starting today. And the truth is, discipline doesn't begin with one huge decision. It begins with a series of small decisions that you repeat every single day. Step 1. Stop negotiating with yourself. Whenever it's time to study or work, your mind will start making suggestions. 5 more minutes. I'll start after lunch. Today was exhausting. Tomorrow, I'll be more focused. The problem is that these excuses never end, because every time you let your mood decide, you're training yourself to believe one thing, that your commitment is negotiable. So instead of asking yourself, do I feel like doing it? Ask, what do I need to do right now? If it's time to study, you don't need to make another decision. Just start. Even if you're not motivated, even if you've had a bad day, even if you'd rather be doing something else. Step 2. Make the beginning very small. Don't say, I'm going to study for 3 hours. Say, I'll open the book and study for 5 minutes. Don't say, I'm going to work out for an entire hour. Say, I'll put on my workout clothes and do the first exercise. And don't say, I'm going to finish the project today. Say, I'll work on it for 10 minutes. Why? Because your goal at first isn't to achieve a huge result. Your goal is to remove the resistance. Once you start, it becomes easier to keep going. Maybe those 5 minutes will pass, and you'll find yourself wanting to continue for another 20. But even if you stop after 5 minutes, you've still gained something important. You've proven to yourself that you can start, even without motivation. Step 3. Design your environment instead of relying on willpower. If your phone is next to you while you're studying, you're asking yourself to resist temptation every minute. But what if you put your phone in another room? You didn't suddenly become more disciplined. You simply made the right choice easier. If you want to read, put the book next to your bed. If you want to work out in the morning, prepare your workout clothes before going to bed. If you want to work on your project, open the tools you need in advance. The idea is simple. Don't make a good habit require a lot of effort to get started. Make a bad habit require one extra step. Because the environment around you affects your behavior more than you might think. Step 4. Set a fixed time instead of relying on your mood. Don't say, I'll study when I have time, because when I have time often means when I feel like it. Set a specific time. For example, 7 p.m. equals study time, 6 a.m. equals workout time, 9 p.m. equals project time. This way, you don't have to make the decision all over again every day. The time itself becomes a signal telling you it's time to take action. And with repetition, it becomes more automatic. The final step is the most important. Don't let one bad day become a bad week. You will fail sometimes. You might miss a workout. You might postpone your studying. You might spend an entire day without getting anything done. And that's normal. The problem isn't failing once. The problem is saying, I've ruined everything. I'll start again on Monday. And then Monday comes, and you don't start. Instead, use one simple rule. Don't let one bad day become 2 days in a row. If you miss the habit today, return to it tomorrow. You don't need perfection. You need to come back quickly. Because a disciplined person isn't someone who never fails. They're someone who doesn't allow temporary failure to become a lifestyle. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait for motivation. And don't wait for the perfect day. Start when you're tired. Start when you're afraid. Start even when you don't feel like it. Because every time you choose action instead of waiting, you're not just completing one task. You're building a new version of yourself, a version that knows, I don't always do what I feel like doing. I do what I decided to do. And the next time you wake up and don't feel like doing anything, remember this video. Don't ask yourself, do I feel motivated? Ask, what's one small thing I can start right now? Open the book, put on your shoes, start working. Just 5 minutes. Because your life won't change on the days when you feel motivated. It will change on the days when you don't feel like doing anything, and you choose to keep going anyway. And remember, motivation gets you started, but discipline is what gets you there. Now I want you to do one thing. Write in the comments, I'll start today. Then write next to it what you're going to start. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. It could be studying, working out, starting a project, learning a language, anything you've been putting off. And make that comment a promise to yourself. And if you want to go from simply starting to becoming someone who actually keeps going, subscribe to the channel. Because the next video will answer a harder question. Why do you start strong and then quit after a few days? We'll talk about why you struggle to stay consistent and how to build a system that helps you stay on track even when the motivation disappears. Because starting isn't the hardest part. Staying consistent is the real game. See you in the next video.